All right, today we're gonna go over a full pull workout from start to finish. The warm-ups that I'm gonna do for my pull day are pretty similar to the push day. I actually do a little bit less, so we don't need to go into full depth as to what I'm doing warming up here. You can just go watch the pull workout. It's gonna be similar stuff. I'm just warming up my hips a little bit just because they feel tight today. So we're just doing some hip switches. We got the, what is this, a dowel?
Bamboo shaft.
A bamboo shaft, or you with PVC pipe. I was doing some of these. I don't even know what this movement is even called. Do you know what it's called? Or is that what they're called? I don't know. I always do this before I do upper days. I actually forgot the other day because I forgot they even had this here, but I have this at home too. So I'll just do this throughout the day. And then after this, I'll go into all of the planes of motion just with a 5-pound plate. And then probably some internal, external rotation with the band. And that's probably it. Maybe some kettlebell stability work beforehand too. And then we'll just go right into some pullovers to start off back. And we'll also use that as some lat activation too. So with everything that I'm doing right now, if you guys watched the previous video, you know that I'm taking you through every workout for this new split that I'm doing. These first 2 days, the push and pull day, are still pretty primarily focused around hypertrophy. The next 3 days you're going to see are the days that are really going to be more so focused solely around stability and mobility and improving, you know, the aspects that are going to help with the injury. Because there's not much that I could really do as terms of like upper body stuff, back and chest, that are really going to transfer into helping with that issue. Obviously we are doing some unilateral stuff, which is important, but the good stuff, the new stuff, is going to come within the next few workouts. But today's just going to be, you know, a full-blown pull day, some back, some rear delts, and some biceps. So what I'm doing here is just flipping the kettlebell upside down, holding it right here, 90 degrees for shoulder stability, and then lifting up the opposing leg as well for core stability. So just a chain reaction. A lot of people don't realize, fuck, I'm gonna go to a whole tangent. Just keep this short and simple. Your body works from bottom to the top, right? So if something with your feet is fucked up or just off, that will, and that can and most likely will affect your knees, affect your hips. So it's gonna affect your pelvis, affect your lower back, affect the scapula. It affects everything. It's a chain fucking reaction. So a lot of people will, oh, my back's fucked up, my hips are fucked up, not realizing that the problem stems from the bottom up. So I know right now I'm doing back, and it's going to be primarily a bodybuilding focused workout. And again, you guys are going to see more of the cooler new stuff in the other days. But this is everything that I'm working on right now, is full body stability to fix the root issues that have really just developed over years and years of not focusing on this stuff, neglecting it, and just training like a meathead rather than having functional capabilities as a human being, being more so like an athlete. A lot of bodybuilders don't ever look at training from that aspect. And if you look at the guys who are all fucked up, this is a good thing that I didn't even realize until right now. I mean, I've realized it, but I never talked about it. If you look at all the guys who are fucked up from years and years of training, these are all the guys who train like meatheads and have no athletic backgrounds. Look at the guys who have athletic backgrounds, played football in college, you know, actually were an athlete. The guys in the 80s who did yoga, who ran every day, and like were much more fit human beings as outside of just training like a bodybuilder. All those guys have way less injuries. They have more longevity. It's because you are just more functional in every aspect. Like, look at Brett. Brett played football. What did he play? Did he play D1 football? He did. And look at how his fucking how much work, what is it called, work output, how much, you know, how hard he can train, the cardiovascular endurance that he has, how just functional and the mobility that he has. That stuff carries over in the long run, and that's stuff that you need to address. And it's stuff that I neglected for a long time, and that's really the primary goal right now, because this is what's going to carry me and my career further, you know, 10, 20 years from now. So might as well get on it now before it's too late. Losing my balance. Even like Nick Gloff, like when I was training with Nick, and when I was down on Revive, like he was showing me mobility stuff and like just the balance that he has doing like the fucking RDL airplanes, and that motherfucker's mobile as fuck. He has insane core stability. Like He's just an overall functional athlete. And look how strong he is, look how big he is. That stuff carries over so much, and people don't realize these things. They neglect it until it's too late, and they got fucked up hips and a fucked up back like me. And now we got to work our way back down to go back up. So 1 step back or 10 steps back, 20 steps forward. Take notes. It's people are gonna watch this and still neglect it, but you know, 5 years from now, you're gonna remember. Oh shit, I remember this guy saying this. I remember people telling me this shit too when I was 16. I'm like, oh, fucking, what does this guy know? What does this guy know? All these guys watching TikTok. I gotta be on the most stable machine to fucking target my iliac fibers that don't even exist yet because I have no lat development, but I can't even balance on 1 foot. No, we're gonna stop. What are we doing now? Let's actually start doing pull downs. Another movement that has been bastardized by the TikTok community. Fucking apparently pullovers are a terrible exercise for lats.
Excuse me?
Who would have thought? Yeah. Why would you ever do pullovers? It's not a stable movement. These fucking people are retarded. So the first movement that we're doing is going to be a unilateral cable pullover. And we're also going to use this as our primary just warm up for the lats and do some activation rounds here, which just means I'm going to do more warm up sets than usual rather than doing other shit. So it's going to be just focus on this and then work up to like 2 actual working sets to failure of around 10, 12, up to 15 reps or so. A lot of people tend to have trouble with this movement specifically. I know I've had a lot of clients that have trouble feeling this in their lats when they do it bilaterally primarily. So in that case, what I'll typically have them do is do it unilaterally, because whenever we're doing anything unilaterally, you're gonna have better motor unit recruitment to that side. Obviously, just think of it logically, it's easier to focus on one side rather than focus on both at the same time. And if you don't have a good connection established with your lats to begin with, it's going to be easier to establish it by doing it unilaterally at first. And especially if you don't know how to really execute the movement properly, doing it unilaterally is going to help as well. So what you want to do here when you're doing this, what a lot of people will typically do, is they'll come all the way down here and they'll start doing this. Say, I don't feel my lats. It's because the way that they're doing is not primarily focusing on lats, right? So what you want to do, I'm just going to show you unilaterally, is you want to come to right here. You want to have the lat engaged. Once we lose tension here, lat's no longer engaged. You're giving more leverage to the upper back. You know, teres, we're pulling through here, we're pulling through our rear delts. So we want to stay more upright and come to the point where we keep this engaged, but get it forward and stretched. So we want to allow protraction to occur. Some elevation of the scap is okay, but we don't want to be all the way up here. And then as you come down, you want to focus on driving your scap down with it, and basically trying to think of stabbing the floor with your elbow. But you also don't want to turn this into a row and go like this. It's kind of like a skiing motion, if that makes sense. And you're coming to right here. We're not overstretching. We're keeping tension on the lat and driving right down into there. And now, if you're doing it unilaterally, what you could do to help establish that connection is literally hold the side, which will help, or you could have somebody else touch your lat. That's always going to help. And yeah. Squeeze that down there. Come right there. Boom. Another thing to think is keep your hand more neutral or supinated slightly in. That's going to help keep the elbow closer to the body, which is going to help you engage a lot more. If we have our hand all the way pronated out here, now the elbow wants to come out. Now we're going to give more advantage to the upper back. It's not what we want. So neutral, supinated grip, drive straight down, squeeze the lat. You want to make sure you're in line with the cable too. We don't want to be stepping out here and having it bend all around. So when you switch the side, you're going to make sure you scoot over a little bit so that that side's in line with it too. But you can just come up here and just stretch to get everything nice and open at first. That's what I like to do. You can also just do that in between any sets though, on a fucking machine or bar. Just come and stretch your back open. So it makes this even more challenging for me is because my back's all fucked up. Everything I do when I'm standing or even just sitting down, I'm constantly trying to make sure that like my pelvis is squared and my back is in alignment. So it's not like I can just line up with it. I have to now move my hip over, you know, rotate forward and make sure that I stay in that position, because it takes a lot of mental focus. Otherwise, as soon as my body's challenged, you know, your body always wants to take the path of least resistance. So now it's like subconsciously, that little shift back, now I'm reinforcing the curvature and the place where I don't want to be. And it's hard to focus on so many things at once. So it's like I'm basically having to be like a fucking Jedi master of every aspect of my body while doing everything now. But the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. It just takes a lot of mental focus at first, you know, anything you do. And this goes for anybody too, because even if you don't have the problems that I'm dealing with, most people just have shitty posture, and that transfers over to, you know, as problems in the long run. So just when you're sitting, like just making sure when you're in your car, just making sure you're in a good posture position, and like just doing that every time it comes to your mind and thinking of it, you know, it's eventually going to reinforce that, you know, neurologically in your brain. That's gonna become your new norm after so long. But if you let yourself resort back to what is most comfortable for you,
you'll never grow.
You'll never grow. You'll never get past the issue. You're just going to reinforce the problems that are occurring or are bound to occur in the time to come. And you'll be like one of those guys that are 80 years old, their necks like this. You know what I'm talking about? The turtle shells?
Mr. Crocker.
Mr. Crocker. We don't want that. But yeah, so let's work up to a heavier weight here. A lot of people have been shitting on this movement. I feel like I shouldn't even have to address this. The amount of stupid stuff I've had to address because of this app is absolutely insane. You know, I don't even know why we're talking about pullovers being a bad movement. They're not. People think anything that requires more stability makes it a bad movement. It's not. The better you become at the movement, the more stable you become. This isn't a fucking issue. Obviously, a row is going to provide more stability. But guess what? You can do a fucking chest supported row and a pullover. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Sure, if you were crunch for time and can only do 2 fucking exercises, choose a chest supported row if it's that important to you. But stop shitting on movements that require you to have more stability. The people shit on squats because it requires more stability. Guess what? When you become better at the squat and know how to brace and have core stability, it's not a fucking issue. People really over-exaggerate these things so much. It's always coming from people who don't have the experience either. Talk to any fucking person that has experience that's been lifting for a long time and tell you the same shit. But no, the 19, 20-year-old on TikTok that just learned some biomechanics and some fancy words knows more than the 30-year-old bodybuilder that's dedicated his life to it. Or the coaches. Some people I've seen argue with Joe Bennett. Show some respect. Honestly. Like, where's the respect? I don't know. Let's do this fucking set. See this? Stability. Brace. Breathe through the core. Maybe the left one is stronger. The 16 was easier. Ooh. Yep. Oh. 13. Whew. It's 2 sets there. That's good enough. Then we're gonna go into pull-ups. Pull-ups are underrated. I've been liking them a lot. I've been doing them instead of doing pull downs. They're just fucking harder.
I think they just feel better too.
They do feel better. You also get to get that decompression in your spine when you're hanging, which is good.
Great.
Good for me, Good for you, good for everybody. And I think we were talking about this a lot the other day, me and Umar. I've talked about this before with like incline bench and stuff too. If you look at the way that these old school bodybuilders trained, which I know is anecdotal, genetics, all that stuff plays a factor, but if you even look at like, go to the fucking hood and look at all the dudes working out on the playground, they all have crazy fucking lats. And what do? Pull-ups in calisthenics. And it's because pull-ups force you to stay up and bring the elbows down, keep them nice and close to the lat, and focus on doing it for a lat-focused pull. When people do pull downs, what they do fucking 75% of the time is they start leaning back, and now what turns into an upper back exercise, not an actual lat primary focus exercise. So I think pull-ups just put you into a better position that are gonna force you to really target the lats, unless you're just fucking rocking your body, swinging up, doing some, what do they call, kipping pull-ups, the CrossFit shit. But yeah, don't sleep on pull-ups. They're hard. You know, you do a couple sets to failure. I doubt you guys, anybody out there is doing 30 fucking 40 pull-ups in a set. Take it slow, get a nice squeeze at the top. You really don't need weight for them, you know? You don't need to put 2 plates on a fucking belt and do 2 reps on a pull-up. You can do pull downs too in addition to it. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna do like 4 sets to failure on pull-ups. And yeah, let's get right to it. All right, so I think we're actually gonna we'll do 2 sets to chin-ups. Because I've been doing pull-ups. I do pull-ups all the time. We'll just switch up, do 2 sets of chin-ups, then 2 sets of regular wide grip pull-ups. And again, guys, I'm not saying that because those guys in the fucking park or the old school bodybuilders did pull-ups, that's why their lats look that way. But I'm a man who likes to critically think about shit and not just take shit for what it is and hear what somebody says and take it as gospel like most people do. I take information, I soak it in, I think about it, and I form conclusions. And yes, there's other factors that come into play with that, but if you think about it logically, it makes sense. People train differently now than how they did back in the day and how those calisthenic guys do. So you take all those things into consideration and try to figure out, well, why do these produce different results? What do they do differently? And then you put it to the test and see how it works for you. And obviously there's logic and science behind it, right? You know, if we're gonna do a more effective movement for the lats rather than turning it into this, which you can do on a pull down. But again, I'm just making a generalized statement that that's how most people train now versus then how these guys train and that and why it produces these different results. And this is just stuff that you can put into practice. And this is really how you just become a well-rounded individual and you're able to make good decisions in the gym with your own logic, critical thinking, and you can basically build the physique that you want without having to constantly look to somebody else for what is the answer. You understand the basics of things, and you put 2 and 2 together, and then you put it into practice. Does that make sense?
It does. Unless for Seb. Always come back for Seb.
Always come back for Seb. I got you. All right. Holy shit. That feels insane. So that's when sensation is correlation. My lats had crazy fucking contraction the whole time. It's great. Chin-ups for the win. I might just say fuck bodybuilding. Become a calisthenics king. I always have dreamt of being able to do those flag pulls sideways.
Yo.
Never got it down. I did it once on a cruise ship in the Bahamas in 2019 for...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You saw that video?
Yes.
For a mere... I kicked somebody in the head.
Yes.
For a mere 2 seconds on the fitness cruise.
Yep.
That was a fucking shit show. You feel me?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. I've been sleeping on the chin-ups. That's good. It's nice. Oh. All right. 2 sets of chin-ups, Now we'll just do 2 sets of standard wide grip. Pull-ups just for a little switch up. Hit both, why not? We're gonna do standard pull-ups with pronated grip. Now, with the intention of hitting the lats here, again, what we want to primarily focus on is staying upright, driving the elbows down, keeping them close, adducted in to the torso. What you can easily do here is start pulling up the same way that you would on a lat pull down. Is you could start bringing your arms up higher and turning it more into more upper back focused. If we want to get the most out of lats with this, we want to stay upright and drive down, not back rowing. So you don't want to think that you have to fully retract your scapula on this. I think that's where a lot of the miscommunication is people think they have to pull back on everything when they're training back. And no, that's just rhomboids, traps, rear delts. Lats, yeah. Lats, we want scapula depression. We don't necessarily need retraction all the time. So we're gonna go slightly apart from shoulder width. We don't need to go too wide. Again, we're gonna push those elbows in towards the wall here, right in front of us, and drive down. Up. X. Oh. Not too many, but it's already our 3rd set, so we're getting a little tired here. We'll shoot for 1 more. Hopefully we'll get at least 6 on that one, but hopefully you guys saw what I meant by pushing in and down, not staying out and back. I think the out and back is a lot easier to do on a pull down because you're just locked into the seat and the cable and you typically want to rock back with it. So a key for if you are doing lat pull downs is to scoot further back on the seat so that you can have the ability to pull straight down without having to lean back into it, you know? But 1 more set here. We're gonna go no straps on this one. Just gonna raw dog it. Okay. All right. Let's move on to rows. All right, so 3rd exercise that we're doing for back is going to be unilateral dumbbell rows, bent over here. Again, I love my movements that require more stability. I'm all of that anti-stability shit. You know why? Because I've dealt with the consequences. Maybe you guys are fortunate enough to have not dealt with them yet. But I'm going to teach you how to prevent that from occurring. And we do that by being a fucking stable human being. My primary intent here is obviously staying in alignment. You know, a big part of doing the unilateral stuff is to help with these imbalances. Obviously, being in this bent over hinge position, I'm going to have more core and lower back activation, which is going to help with this. So that's a big reason why I'm doing these. And we're going to aim for just two working sets in the 10 to 12 range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, just feel it out. But we want to make sure everything's locked down. We aren't having any spinal flexion. We're staying in good control, having everything nice and stable, and being able to thoroughly drive through the back while, you know, not having any momentum or rocking at the same time. So we'll just go straight to the hundreds for the first warm-up set. When we do this, we obviously want to have the same foot planted forward, not the opposite one. Same foot is going to provide better stability and prevent you from having rotation throughout the movement and pulling, you know, up and back. You want to stay straight and basically just move like a machine through the back. We don't want to be, you know, doing all that. You know, not everybody's built with a titanium spine like Branch Warren. We can't all be that blessed. We got to be a little bit more careful. I wouldn't be surprised if Branch Warren has like 10 herniations that he just doesn't know about. Let's step back further. I want to step further back, that way I can stay lower. If I come up more, I'm gonna just inevitably wanna stay more upright. I wanna stay parallel to the floor here and be able to keep my core tight, breathe through my stomach, stay in alignment, and just pull through here. How's it look? Another pro tip. And I say this because I've been through the fucking ringer. I've done this for 11 years. I've made the mistakes so that you don't have to. And I didn't listen to people that were saying that what I'm saying now. And I don't regret it because you live and learn, right? If I didn't do that, who the fuck would have known? Like now I have the wisdom, right? Now I'm fucking Gandalf, and now I can spread that onto you. Don't use fucking gear, not gear that you inject into yourself. That's okay. I'm talking about belts, knee sleeves, knee wraps. They can be okay in certain circumstances, but to constantly use that as a crutch every time I'm going to do a hinge movement, every time I'm going to squat, every time I'm going to press, I need to have my sleeves. If you need to do that, you are fucked up. Like the whole point of using a belt is to be able to create core stability so that you're pushing against the belt and bracing. You should be able to do that without the belt. The belt is essentially a tool to help you learn how to control your core. Now remove the belt and you should be able to mimic that exact same thing without the fucking belt. Sure, if you're powerlifting and you're going for a top 1 rep max, triple, a little bit different, you could probably justify using it in those cases. Do they even let you use that in some competitions, in some powerlifting competitions? You could always use the belts, right? You just can't use other shit. But when we're training for hypertrophy, like you do not need that stuff. It is a crutch. It will literally prevent you from having actual core stability. It will prevent you from knowing how to actually execute movements and effectively warm up your knees instead of having to constantly use a sleeve to alleviate the pain there. Like, you shouldn't have to use these things. They can be beneficial in circumstances. You could throw them in here and there, but you do not want to rely on those things. You should be able to perform all your movements perfectly fine and go hard as fuck without them. You should be able to do hops on squats without a fucking belt. You should be able to be stable without it, and you should not have back pain. If you are using a belt to alleviate back pain when you're doing squats, you are asking for fucking trouble.
That's me.
That's like, I don't want to say it's comparable, but it's almost like I have a herniated disc, so I'm just going to take a Percocet and go to the gym. Instead of dealing with the actual herniation, I'm just going to, put a Band-Aid on it. Instead of learning how to actually develop core stability, I'm just going to use this instead until my fucking spine collapses on itself one day when I'm walking down the stairs. I know I might be using exaggerated examples, but it holds true. And people don't ever realize this shit until it's too late. So, listen. Anyways. And no, it doesn't make your waist fucking smaller. Six. 8. You know what's this bullshit? I don't know why people say you don't have to train your abs. Everybody. Hold on, let me do this first. Fuck. 3. 4. If you've been listening to anything I say by now, you should know that I'm going to advocate for training your fucking core and training your abs. This is the thing. Everybody looks at everything through such a narrow lens. They're so one-track minded. Everybody talks about bodybuilding and only ever talks about what is beneficial in very specific circumstances for hypertrophy. And it's like, if you have well-developed abs, do you need to train your abs? I guess not really, but if you want to be a stable human being, have stability, have core strength, and have that transfer over to every fucking thing else, and not get knocked over by a gust of wind when you're 80, train your fucking abs. Like, that should be a no-brainer. It's literally your core of your body. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. It literally holds everything together. And we're talking about, should you train it? Are you retarded? I mean, come on, use your fucking brain. So yes, train your abs. Jesus Christ. I do one more set. I would like to sincerely apologize for my excessive use of profanity. Actually, I take that back. I would not like to apologize to anybody. It's just frustrating, you know, because my whole intention is to help people, and the stuff that I'm telling you guys is for your best interests. It's to help you, and I just know that you guys are fed so much cancerous bullshit and don't know how to differentiate between what is actually good information and what isn't. Because when you're new and you don't have that much experience, you know, how would you know? How can you really tell? Especially when a lot of these people saying this stuff seem like they're reputable people. And it's really just unfortunate how much bullshit there is out there. And a lot of it, honestly, like, it isn't even the person's intention to put out bullshit. A lot of it gets taken out of context because of the way that they speak, and they're speaking in specific contexts, and people can't, you know, really take that apart and understand that for what it is, because again, they don't have the whole spectrum to really understand that. But I just try to make it simple, and I try to give you guys good, useful information that's going to help you in the long run. And people always want to argue it because they heard something somewhere else, and I just constantly have to repeat myself and clarify it. So there we go. It's time for the next set. Nine, 10, 11, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, that's good. Put 2 sets here. And we'll do a dead hang stretch. Just get some nice decompression going, get everything nice and open. And we'll hit a little bit of rear delts, a little bit of biceps to finish up the pull workout. First, I guess this is the 4th movement. Mm-hmm. Well, the first movement we're going to do it for rear delts, or the 4th movement of the fucking pull workout. It's going to be rear delt cable flies. It's the only movement we're going to do for delts. I only do this and then laterals on the push day. This is honestly my favorite go-to movement for rear delts, aside from a good rear delt reverse fly machine, but those are hit or miss. It's same thing with chest flies though. Like, the machine's either great or it's fucking terrible. Like, the Prime one is great for rear delts, but then you turn around and do chest on it, it's fucking garbage. So it's rare that you find one that's good for both. I think the Atlantis one, there's multiple Atlantis ones, but one of them is really good for both.
Thin back.
Yeah, it's got to have the thin back. I don't know what's up with all these fucking machines with the thick backs, as if everybody has this super fucking wide collarbone. It's just terrible. All benches should be thin, in my opinion. It's aside from the point. We're doing rear delt flies here, and something you want to keep in mind when you're doing these is I have the cuffs here because it's just obviously convenient, as you see, and when I come all the way out, nothing's knocking into each other, right? You don't want this interruption here. It's annoying. And I also don't like when people like have to go like this above. I like to keep everything even. So we come here into full protraction, have everything stretched out, and instead of just pulling back through the traps, we don't want to initiate with scapular retraction. We want to think of pushing out to the walls on the sides of us. So we're pushing out through the rear delt and focusing on keeping the elbow nice and up. You don't want it to drop down super low. You want to keep it nice and up. Come back into full retraction and then push out to the sides. You can come back into full retraction if you want, but it's not that important. You're just going to involve more trap. It's okay, but the focus here is rear delts. But primarily, you want to make sure that you're not initiating with retraction. You want to be pushing out to the sides. And again, this is a movement where obviously we are not the most stable, so you're going to make sure your core is nice and tight. You're staying braced and creating stability. So that was just a light little set to show demonstration. We'll actually bump the weight up. We'll probably do 4 working sets here in between the 10 to 20 rep range, something like that. And yeah, I like to stick with higher rep ranges for rear delts and side delts just because You know, you're never going to get a good fucking set out of a 6 rep set for rear delts. It's not going to happen. You know, people could say,
It's a small muscle.
yeah, it's not even the fact that it's a small muscle. I mean, yeah, but it's just the fact that, like, if you go that heavy on this movement, you're not going to execute it for your delts. You're going to initiate with scapular traction. The stronger muscles are going to take over. So you got to go a little bit later. You got to go for the higher reps. And it's not that if you could effectively do 6 reps and maintain that form, sure, but like it's very unlikely. It's not, the muscle's not that strong. So that's just what I prefer to do. Hey, if you're getting huge fucking rear delts off of doing 6 reps on a rear delt fly, good for you. But it's not how I do it. So we'll bump up here, do our first working set, probably aim for like 20 reps. I like to stop here, just pause and really just engage the rear delt and try to contract it as hard as I can without having that full retraction back here. You'd be surprised. This shit gets
Heavy.
gets hard. It gets heavy fast. So it's only second set. The 15. What was that? 12. Might have to. We'll do this way for one more set. Might have to back it down. We'll see for the 4th one.
Look at yourself.
What?
Look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, I caught a glimpse, and I immediately thought wow, I look like shit.
I thought you were gonna say you thought you looked like Mr. Clean.
Oh no, Mr. Clean didn't have a beard. Kratos?
Yeah, who's Kratos?
Who's Kratos?
Yeah.
What do you mean, who's Kratos?
Who is it?
It's me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're almost getting to the point of workout where I just become delirious. All right, this last set we're doing for rear delts, and then we'll bust out a little bit of buys. Six. Ooh, should we go to Chick-fil-A? Is that not the vibe? Is it Sunday? It's Wednesday. Because every time I think of Chick-fil-A, it ends up being fucking Sunday. And then I just hate religion for the rest of the day. Jumping Jesus. Hey, why'd you ask if I like Asian food?
Oh, I want to go to Edison. There's a whole...
Right now?
No.
No point talking about this. No point. What's it, the hot pot? But wait, there's more. There's a Chinese buffet, a sushi place, and a hot pot. Asian paradise. Moving on to biceps. We're gonna do something special now. Something I like to call alternating dumbbell curls. So probably gonna do 2 working sets here. Just work up to, 8 to 12 reps each arm. I'm gonna start here in a nice neutral position, and then as we come up, we're gonna supinate. It's something I actually invented when I was 14. I thought, why would I just keep my arm this way if I could turn it this way and get a little bit of that better contraction?
Damn.
And I tried to coin the phrase, but I was young, so nobody respected me. I tried to call them the Sebi supination curls, but people just started calling them alternating dumbbell curls, and it's fine. I don't need the credit. I'm fine as long as people are getting used to the movement. It's okay. So I like to work up, starting with the 30s here, but use whatever is a good load for you. Six, 7, 11, 8, 9, 9, 9, 10, 10. Whew. Little tip when you're doing these, whenever you're doing a standing curl, you don't need to keep your arms straight up and down like this, right? You can have some elevation with it. It's gonna help shorten the bicep more. But you need to be intentional with that. We're not doing a front raise and making this into a shoulder exercise. That's where people go wrong. And I've seen people fucking literally conduct studies where they'll try to argue against that. And the study examples that they'll use is they'll show people doing this and show that this is better for the bicep in comparison to doing this. Like, no fucking shit. You're doing the extreme example. Yeah, it's common sense. It's not this. It's just a little bit. Just a little bit. Full tension should still be on the bicep. I don't even have any tension here. There's nothing happening here. Just a little bit. You know, your bicep assists. And what's the word for? Is it shoulder flexion? It's one of those. That's probably not the correct terminology. I don't know. Got a lot of brain fog right now. I'm towards the end of the workout. Blood sugar's low. Haven't had too much to eat today. And we're getting to that point where I just become delirious and start rambling. So before we get out of hand here, we're just going to do the next set. Who's going to carry the boats and the logs? 3. Yep. 4. Come on. 5. 6. Yep. 7. Yeah. 'Oh shit. That took a lot out of me. First time doing curls in like 2.5 weeks. These biceps never lose strength. I'll tell you that. I go 2 weeks without pressing, fucking dumbbell press goes down 40 pounds. Go fucking 6 months without curling, my fucking curl goes up 5 pounds. It's just domination. I don't even know if I want to do anything else. It's like the point of these workouts, at this point, like we're doing stuff. There's like hypertrophy training, but really like the intent of all this, because again, you guys are going to see in the following 3 days like the important shit, but it's really just to maintain mass right now and to utilize these unilateral movements and whatnot, like the bent over rows, to create more stability, get more in tune with the body, but obviously still have hypertrophy training in there as well so that I can retain the tissue that I have, don't lose a shit ton of size and strength throughout this whole process, and maybe if we're lucky, get a little bit bigger throughout this. But it's not the priority. It's not the priority, so I don't need to sit here and hammer curls. My biceps aren't going to get smaller. They're not going to get weaker, as we just saw. I haven't fucking touched a curl in over 2.5 weeks, and I'm curling 50s for, 8 reps each arm? We're fine. Okay, so last thing I do just before I head out is I'm going to do like a 60-second dead hang stretch, just to get the back nice and open, do a force stretch. Could do this loaded with plates, but I'm not going to go around looking for a weight belt right now. I'm fucking over it, so I just hold the stretch longer. This is good for spinal decompression too, so feels good. If your arms are too close, you can literally cut off your airway through your neck and you won't be able to breathe. So just make sure you have a grip slightly wider than shoulder width so you could fully sink into the stretch. And you just want to focus on taking deep breaths, inhaling throughout the process. So that pretty much wraps up. It's a nice pull workout, full walkthrough. Hopefully you guys learned something, gained some insight. Maybe there's something you could take away from this video. If not, I'm sorry. If there's anything else you'd like me to cover or have questions on, just drop a comment, let me know. Any feedbacks, feel free to let me know. Make sure you like the video, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, you could use code SEB to get 10% off any order from HC Muscle. It is greatly appreciated. Appreciate all the support. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.